My name is Heather, and today we're going to do a class where I'm going to hopefully help you to sense and feel into when you're kind of like the way that you feel shifts. So you might notice, I just want you to try to start to notice when you maybe get more activated, feeling more energized, or maybe even frustrated, or whatever type of more higher energy feeling. And then when you start to shift more into the like lower energy feelings of maybe relaxation, tiredness, fatigue, drowsiness, it's kind of all the same thing, but like, you see what I mean? Like when you start to shift from one feeling to the other, I want you to try to notice that. That's one of the biggest things that we learn in yoga, is this idea of watching ourselves so closely that we notice when we are triggered. We notice when we're beginning to be triggered. I mean, that's such a powerful tool to have in our tool belt when we are living in the world, right? We want to be able to take care of ourselves, because there's just no way to exist in a vacuum, right? Like there's always going to be something. And so I'll just be giving cues related to that, and just do what you can today. I'm going to, teach a more difficult stretching, kind of more stretchy pose at the end, but we'll work up to it. It's compass pose, which I think is a really beautiful pose. And so, yeah, hopefully we have some fun, and we start to be able to observe ourselves in that way. Which, by the way, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, one of the observances, one of the self-observances, the niyamas, is self-observation, okay, or self-study, or studying for ourselves, like studying the scriptures. So that's called svadhyaya. So yeah, let's begin. I'm sitting up on a bolster, and I have a blanket. I think for today you probably will want at least a blanket to sit up on. If you like to use props, bolsters, those are always welcome. If you know how to use them, especially, use them whenever you want, all right? So if you are sitting up on something, make sure to sit at the edge of it. Rest your hands on your thighs or wherever they're comfortable, and begin to close your eyes and just start to tune into the feeling you have, or the feelings you have right now. So usually there's just sort of something there bobbing at the surface, just that easiest thing to find, the loudest sensation that's happening. Maybe it's a thought. Maybe when you close your eyes, all you can notice is what's going on outside of you, if it's loud, or if there's anything like distracting. Just noticing how it's making you feel. The thing that you're feeling is making you feel a certain way. And this idea, this practice comes from somatic experiencing, and it's not trying to fix or change. The energy behind this process is just observing, witnessing, being your own witness. Now you've sat here for a couple minutes. Can you notice the shift from where you started to now? Maybe your breathing has changed. Start to consciously take some deeper breaths. Breathing through your nose on the inhale and exhale, make your breath take a little longer. See if you can begin to approach the very top of your inhale where you can't inhale anymore. And then same thing with your exhale, the very bottom of that exhale. You can't exhale anymore. See if you can start to get closer to that space. Continue to observe your breath, bringing your inhale all the way to your belly, filling up your belly first, then the middle of your chest, then your shoulders. Feel your head rise, your spine gets a little longer, and then on the exhale, feeling things fall back into place, feeling your navel return back to its resting position. Maybe it goes in a little bit more just to help that last bit of air out. And then your belly softens again to receive the breath, allowing it to expand outwards as much as it will, as much as it wants to. And then exhaling, feeling things fall back into place. So just continue with that breath, exploring those edges of the inhale and the exhale. Our breath is a powerful tool as well, so we can observe ourselves, we can feel our feelings, but sometimes it can be hard to know exactly what we're feeling. Sometimes we feel nothing, but the breath is always there. Always, we have to breathe. And so even if we're holding our breath, eventually we'll breathe again. It's the noticing of holding your breath. It's the noticing of your breath changing, it becoming shallow or quick, it becoming stressed, jagged, no longer smooth, no longer not noticeable, or so unnoticeable that you have to remember to take a deep breath, maybe even a yawn. So our breath becomes an indicator of our internal state. And if we can work with our breath, especially this breathing exercise, the belly breath, then we can shift back into at least a place of neutral. Maybe just slightly less agitated. Because we will take anything we can get, right? We don't have to be 100%. 80% is pretty darn good. And these self-observation practices will get us there, especially if we continue to practice them. So once again, before we start moving, just notice the shift. Notice how you feel now. Notice any energy you're experiencing in your body. Relaxed energy, nervous energy, it's all just energy. How we perceive them, how we experience it, is what makes it different. Take a deep inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. And then open your eyes. Feel how you feel now, that your eyes are open again. And move your bolster out of the way. Come into child's pose at the end of your mat, reaching your hands straight ahead. Rest your forehead on the ground. And see if you can go back into those deep breaths. Doesn't necessarily have to be all the way down into the belly breath, but still continuing with deep, slow breaths. Feeling the ground underneath your forehead, your palms, and your feet. Take another slow, deep breath. Take your knees a little bit wider. And then on your inhale, come forward, lifting your chest, shoulders over wrists, and look forward. So you're kind of in hands and knees-ish. And then push back to child's pose. And we're going to go back and forth a couple times. Inhaling forward, look forward. Exhaling, push back. Again. Really feeling your fingertips, knees, and the top of your feet on the mat. Feel your spine as it moves, shoulders as they move and articulate, looking forward. Try to enjoy it. Try to really get into it and feel where it feels. Notice things about yourself. Make the movement your own. Okay, next time you rise up to hands and knees, bring your knees more directly underneath your hips. And then we're going to do some hip circles. If you have any like bad feelings, not feeling good in your wrist, you can, well, let's save that. But you could put your hands up on blocks or even a blanket. Raising your hands up is just going to shift some of the weight back into your hips and make this a little bit more sustainable. But from here, knees directly underneath your hips, hands a little wider than shoulder distance apart. Begin to make some knee circles with your right leg. The tendency will be for you to want to bend your elbows and lean really far to the left. As much as you can, resist that. In fact, kind of lean to the right a little bit. So we're drawing some circles with our knees, making them a little bit bigger now. This is kind of a nice simple warm up for the hips. Very effective, which you might already be feeling. Making those circles a little bigger now. Really noticing what's happening in the left hip. Again, notice if you're shifting to the side. I sure am. Yeah. And then start to make those big circles in the opposite direction. Big circles going back down to smaller. Notice your face, your neck, pressing your fingertips down, remember. Now take this right leg out to the right, lifting your hip, lifting your knee out to the side. Hold there, breathe. Step your right foot forward to the pinky side edge of your right foot. And we're gonna do some runner's lunges from here. So it'll be an inhale, lift your chest, lift your heart. And if this hurts your back knee, feel free to grab a blanket, put it underneath your back knee, especially if you have a blanket, I'm sure you do. It doesn't matter what kind of blanket. So it's an inhale, hands could be on blocks, exhale, hips back, lift your toes. So back and forth, inhaling forward, exhaling back. Now eventually this front knee might straighten a little bit more. Back. Inhaling forward. It's okay if your knee is coming in front of the line of your ankle. It doesn't matter. Just trying to get some work in that hip again, hamstring. And the quad of the left leg. So we're not forcing our front knee straight. We never want to force anything. Just kind of coaxing it. Maybe it gets a little softer. Maybe it wants to on its own. Okay, last couple times here. Again, hands on blocks might be a good option if you have any. That will lift your chest up a lot higher and it will help you make a little bit more space in the pose. This is a little cramped down here. Last couple times. Okay. So from here, you're going to pick up your right leg again. Pick it up. And now you're going to kick your right foot out to the side. Bring the bottom of your foot to the floor. And then walk. I'm going to move so you can see maybe better. So your ankle, knee, and hip are in line. Left knee is underneath your left hip. Stretch your arms forward. So it's almost like down dog if you're familiar with that. In your upper body, head between your shoulders, butt lifting up behind you. Press your palms down and breathe. From the side, it looks like this. It's an inner thigh, inner hamstring stretch. So if you're feeling it there, you're doing it. Take another breath. One more deep inhale and exhale. Notice what you're feeling now, how that's different from what you were feeling the last time I asked. Another breath. And then bring your hands back so they're supporting you underneath your shoulders. Whee! Yeah, right? So this is a lot like the first movement we did, if you remember, from child pose to hands and knee. So you're going to push back. You can bring your left foot in a little bit so your left leg's more like child's pose, and then go back and forward. So your right foot might be more on the big toe side of your foot. Maybe some of your foot comes all the way down when you come forward. That's okay, whatever is happening there. Just making the movement here. Again, we're warming up our hips, hamstrings, all that good stuff. Moving to your own breath. Feeling the floor underneath you, the air around you. Awesome. Bring your left knee more directly underneath you again. We're going to try to lift our right foot straight up. This will be difficult. You might lean to the left slightly and then lift. Hold, look forward, bend your knee, bring it back down. There's kind of a long sequence there. Let's bring our knees together, bring your hips over to the right, kind of moving your hips to the left, shoulders to the right, excuse me. And then to the opposite, hips to the right, shoulders to the left. Oh, breathing. Feel the shift now, the difference between those things and how they make you feel. So interesting how posture, just changing our posture can change our whole feeling. I'm not into teaching posture because it's a joke. There's no actual perfect posture. But posture does have an effect on our psyche, emotional well-being. So in that way, I'm interested in it. But standing up straight all day, probably not going to be much better for you than slouching all day. So let's do this left side. Starting with small circle, smallish. Hands are nice and wide, supportive, pressing into your fingertips. If you need to take a break and take a wrist stretch, you can pause the video and just do a quick little wrist stretch and come back. Otherwise, pressing strongly into your palms, elbows straight, fingertips pressing down will help you disperse that weight in your palms so that your wrists are not taking all of it. So making those circles a little bit bigger now. Breathing as you move. Notice the tendency to kind of shift to the side, shift to the right. Try not to do that as much as possible. And just being patient with the movement. If you can't be patient, sit with your impatience. Feel how you're feeling, even if it's not your favorite feeling. So this isn't all about good feelings. We're not constantly trying to find a good feeling. Neutral feelings are enough. Feeling nothing is okay as well. Starting those circles in the opposite direction. Again, notice the tendency to lean. It's so hard. Notice the tendency to bend your elbows. Try to straighten them. Push into the floor. Press into your fingertips. Big circles in the opposite direction into smaller circles. Last few times. Feeling the shift now. How is this different from before? There you go. So you're gonna lift your leg all the way out to the side. Good, breathe. And then step that foot forward to the outside of your left hand. That's a big step. You might pad your right knee, bringing a blanket to the floor, especially if it's sensitive. You could put blocks underneath your hands, which will also make it a little bit easier for your wrists. There won't be as much weight buried there. Okay, so it's a deep inhale, look forward, and exhale, start to rock back. Yeah. Inhale forward, and exhale back. So there's so many ways to do this exercise, so this is a little bit different than how I usually teach it. This is a really short stance. Your knee and your heel are pretty close together. And both of my hands on the inside of my foot, underneath my shoulders, instead of one on the outside. I also often teach this with blocks. So just feeling into that difference. If you're a regular student of mine, noticing how just those little bit of changes can really change the whole. This is kind of a sequence, but the whole posture. Okay, so we're just gently moving forward and back. And just allowing our hamstring to open up. If it will, maybe our left foot starts to pick up off the floor. And we are coaxing. We're not forcing. Eventually the hamstring gets a little bit warmer. Last few breaths, just back and forth. So staying forward for a moment here. You might need to shift slightly to the right, but push down into your hands and fingertips firmly. Pick up your left leg, lift it up. This is like fire hydrant, like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. And then take your left leg out to the side and bring your left foot to the floor. More or less line up your knee and your hip, knee, ankle, hip. Then stretch your arms forward and rest your forehead on the mat. So inner thigh stretch here. Take some deep breaths. Maybe you can tune into the shift that happens when we bring our head down. So the difference between having your head up and head down can be quite noticeable if you take the time to notice it. So just feeling into that. Take another big breath. And move your hands so that they're more underneath your shoulders so you can prop yourself back up. And now the back and forth movement again. So you're gonna take your right knee a little further out to the right, bring your right foot in a little bit, almost like you're doing child's pose on the right or like you're about to, and then bring your hips back. So this will be exhale, inhale forward, look forward, and again, drop into that shift. Notice how the transition made you feel. Notice how you feel now that your head is up. And keep moving. Last couple times, stay with the feeling, stay with your body in this moment. Inhale, coming forward. Bring your right knee more directly underneath your right hip. And then maybe lift or maybe shift to the right a little bit so that you can lift your left leg up, bend your knee, and then bring it back underneath you. Woo! How does that feel? We're gonna do those same little hip shifts from side to side. You might even kind of circle your hips around and back to the side, around, like a crescent moon shape. Like a smile. Smile your hips from side to side. Oh, it's brutal making jokes when nobody's in the room. It's probably not funny. That's okay. The yoga itself is funny. Yoga is very silly in my opinion. One more time each side. At least the yoga poses are silly. The rest of it's not so much silly. It's pretty flippin' deep. Okay. I think we should lay on our stomach. So you can move, if you're using something underneath your knees, move it out of your way, and then lay down on your belly with your arms next to your sides. Forehead on the floor, or cheek on the floor, and just take a second to feel yourself on the ground. Notice how much of yourself you're still holding up, and start to let that go. Soften the muscles around your eyes and mouth. Let the full weight of your head and hips sink into the ground. If you're on one cheek, change sides. Maybe there's more to let go of. Feeling into all your zones. Place your hands underneath your shoulders. Kind of right next to where your pecs are, so your fingertips are about the same line as the top of your shoulders. Squeeze your elbows in, and then bring your feet closer together. About the same distance as your sitting bone, so pretty narrow. And then push your pubic bone down. Press your hands down a little bit, squeeze your elbows in. Keep pressing the top of your feet down, pubic bone down. Inhale, lift your head and curl your heart up and look up. Don't use your hands pushing down. Little baby cobra. Exhale, come back down, bring your forehead down. Keep pressing the top of your feet down, palms are firm on the floor. Inhale, curl your chest up, shoulders will drop back, look up. And then exhaling back down to the mat, nice and slow. Bring your forehead down. Let's do it 2 more times. Press the top of your feet, pubic bone, palms. Inhale, lift your head. Lift your chest. And then exhale, slowly lower. One more time, deep inhale. Exhale. Noticing the shift. Forehead on the ground, take a breath. Exhale into hands and knees. Take a deep inhale there in tabletop, hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Exhale, push back to down dog. Walk in place. Feet hip distance apart. Hands a little wider than shoulder distance. Push the floor away. Press your fingertips down. Keep pushing the floor away, elbows straight, fingertips pressing down as you walk forward. Come shoulders over wrists and then bring your feet as close as you can. Feet hip distance, bring your hands to your hips. Inhale, lift your chest, look forward, Ardha Uttanasana variation. Exhale, stand up, Tadasana, palms facing out, arms at your sides. Inhale, reach up, palms together, look up. Exhale, forward bend, dive all the way down. Inhale, lift your heart, look forward. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhale, lifting halfway, look forward, lift your sitting bones. Exhale, step back to plank pose. Inhale, plank. Exhale, lower to the ground. Flip your feet, inhale, cobra. Maybe straighten your elbows a little bit now. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right leg up behind you. Exhale, step forward, high lunge, lift your back heel high. Inhale, reach your arms up, look up. And then exhale, bend your back knee. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Couple times. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straight. Exhale, bend. Movement is mainly coming from this back leg. Nice straight elbows, straight hands. Good. So we'll straighten, turn your back heel down, warrior 2. Look over your front fingertips, breathe. Front knee over ankle. Should be able to see your right big toe. Taking another breath here. You're going to tilt yourself to the right, bring your right hand to the floor on the outside of your right foot or a block. It could be fingertips, palm, or on a block. Now turn your left palm to face forward. Bring that arm over your ear so you're in side angle pose, Parshvanasana. Okay, breathing. Another deep breath. Start to look down. Bringing your left arm to the floor, come to the ball of your back foot, and then set your left knee down. From here, move your left foot, back foot, over to the right until it's parallel with the top edge of your mat. So your shin and the top of your mat are matched up, they're parallel. From there, bring your right hand more the inside of your right foot and actually step your right foot a little further out to the side. Now, bring your chest as much forward as you can, maybe collarbones parallel with the top of your mat now, as best you can. Squeeze your right hip in. If it's out to the side, you're out to the side too. So right hip squeezing in. Bend your elbows and try to get low to the floor like you're going to put your head on it. And then look back to your left foot. Reach back, grab a hold of your pants with your right hand, ankle if you can, but keep your left toes tucked underneath your left foot on the floor. From here, reach your left arm forward. So very pretzel-y pose. Notice the shift. Notice your breath. What's it telling you? What happens when you get put in these weird positions? We all do at some point. Try to slow down your breathing. Take one more deep inhale and exhale. Release your left ankle. Come forward again with your right hand, left hand, and actually let's bring it to the right hand to the inside of your right foot, taking your left foot back, take your right foot back, downward facing dog. Good. Take some deep breaths here. Pressing into your hands, press into your heels, lift your hips. Even if your knees are bent and your heels are off the floor, you can still do that little bit of a press down. Squeezing your upper arms in. Take another deep inhale and exhale. Inhale, lift your left leg. Exhale, step forward, high lunge. Inhale, rise up, back heel high. Reach your arms up, straight elbows, straight fingers. As you exhale, bend your back knee. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Keep going. Listen to your breath. Again, notice the shift. We're back up standing again. How does that feel compared to that weird pretzel pose? Last time. Front knee over your ankle, spin your back heel down, back foot parallel to the back of your mat. Reach your arms out, tuck your tailbone under slightly, looking over your left fingertips now. Should be able to take a peek and see your own left big toe. Last deep breath, noticing the shift. Turn forward with your chest, lift your back heel, lower yourself to the ground nice and slow. You can pad your back knee. Take your left foot out a little bit, and then swing your right foot back behind you and to the left, tucking your toes under. Bring your left hand to the inside of your foot. Now notice my hips are really far out to the side right now. I have to squeeze them in. Turn my chest forward and then try to stay like that. So there's some like pushing, opposition between my arm and my knee. So from here, start to slowly lower. You're gonna bend your elbows like you're gonna bring your head to the ground. From there, look underneath you. Keep this hip squeezing in. Try to grab for your pants with your left hand, maybe your ankle, but keep your toes tucked under, knee bend. Now, collarbones are parallel at the top of your mat. You're not off to the side. Reach your right hand forward, drop your head. Notice the shift. So you could probably feel or notice the loudest thing, right? The loudest thing that's happening in your body, but can you notice the other things too? What's happening in your right shoulder? What's happening in the muscles of your pelvic floor between your pubic bone, tailbone, and your two sitting bones? What's happening there? What's happening in your face? Fill yourself up with one more breath. Release your right ankle. Bring your left hand forward, right hand underneath you. Take your left leg back. Downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths. Okay, let's do the back bendy variation of Adho Mukha Svanasana, which is downward facing dog. Bend your knees, lift your heels. Bring your belly to your thighs, or as close as you can get. Belly to thighs. Now notice what's happening in your shoulder when you do that. Lift your heels, lift your butt, belly to thighs. Your head gets a lot lower to the ground. From there, try to keep your chest as it is, but bring your heels back to the floor, or close. So now you're in the back bend variation of down dog. Squeeze your inner arms in, upper arms in. Breathe. Maybe your head will touch the floor. Noticing the shift of a deep forward bend, sort of back bendy forward bend. That's pretty strange. Another breath. Press down into your fingertips and start to pull your chest up out of your legs, and then bring it forward. Walk your feet back a tiny bit for plank. Push into your hands, look forward, take a breath. Keep your arms like they are, shoulders over wrists. Walk your feet forward for Uttanasana. Yeah, feet hip distance apart. Bend your knees quite a bit, and actually take your feet a little wider than hip distance. Bend your knees quite a bit so your belly is on your legs. Interlace your hands behind your back. Lift your knuckles up. Yes, you might even move your arms from side to side a little bit. Work that breast tissue or any other tissue that might be underneath that area of your body, an armpit area. Let it all start to hang. Start to drop your head. And relax your shoulders. So instead of lifting your shoulders up away from your ears, do the opposite. Actually, just let your shoulders drop. Let your head drop. Notice the shift. Maybe you want to close your eyes. How are you breathing right now? What's the weight in your feet doing? Another deep breath through your nose. Now lift your knuckles and shoulders up as high as you can, away from your neck. Don't lift any of the rest of you. Just lift your shoulders, just lift your arms, the back of your hands up toward the ceiling. Okay? Try to let your head still hang. Take a breath. Notice that shift. And then start to slowly stand up with your hands still pulling away from your back. So start to push into your feet. Rotate your tailbone down, lift from your belly, your chest. Try to keep your arms up and then come all the way up through a back bend. So inhale, lift your arms, lift your chest, look up. And then release your arms. Notice that shift. Close your eyes. Feel how you're feeling. Notice any tension. And then start to open your eyes. Let's come down to seated. So I like to sit on a blanket because my knees don't touch the ground when I sit in seated positions. So if you're like me and when you sit like this, your knees pretty high off the ground. So if I'm not on a blanket, I've got all of this space. This is never going to change. I've been doing yoga for 17 years consistently. This does not change because it comes from your bones, and we can't change our bones. Not in a meaningful way. We can change it in not a great way. Okay, sitting on the edge of a blanket or on the floor. You're a big kid, you can make those decisions on your own. But bottom of your feet together, hold on to your toes, and start to press your legs toward the ground. This is Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. From here, bend your elbows out to the side, and as you inhale, lift your heart up and look up. And then exhale, bend your elbows and pull yourself forward. Forward. Don't immediately think down. That will cause your upper back to round. So think forward. So I'm pulling myself forward. And then when it really doesn't go any further, when I don't move anymore, drop your head. You can bring your elbows in front of your shins and sort of push back, which will also lengthen your spine forward. Or you might choose to bring your hands forward, which is kind of nice. And drop back into a deep breath. Notice the shift. On your next inhale, lift just your head. And then exhale, sit up. Close your eyes. Feel the shift. Open your eyes. Take your feet out wide, with the bottom of your feet on the floor. This is a shoulder stretch, but it begins with the legs. So you're gonna lean to the right, and it's gonna be just your fingers. The back of your fingers are gonna touch your right hip. Bring your right elbow in, right knee out to the side, lean forward and hook them. And then same thing, just the fingies, left fingies on your left hip, left elbow comes in, and then now you're feeling it most likely. So you might want to push your elbows in to feel it more using your knees, or you might not because it might be intense. So just see where you get. If you get a hip cramp, just sort of shake it out, come back, breathe. Maybe drop your head. Notice the shift here. Take 2 more deep breaths. Then begin to lift your head. Lean to one side, unhook the opposite arm, opposite side, opposite arm. Take your legs out straight. Push your heels forward. This stretch is notoriously annoying. If you think that in order to do it right, you have to lay on the floor. If you don't think that, it's a lot less annoying. So, sitting up tall on the edge of your blanket or on the floor, push your heels forward, flex your toes back. This is Upavishta Konasana, wide angle pose. Inhale, reach your arms up. Look up, stretch up. And then exhale, rotate the front of your pelvis forward. Bring your hands to the floor wherever they land. Maybe you need them in a more supportive position underneath your shoulders. This is an inner hamstring stretch. You could, as time goes on, walk your hands a little further forward maybe. Otherwise, if you're getting an inner thigh stretch, you're doing it. Drop your head. Some of you might be able to lay on the ground or do elbows on the ground. Go wherever your body allows, but do not force. Keep pushing your heels forward, flexing your toes back. Make your legs strong. Feel for your breathing. Notice the shift. And I keep saying that, but maybe you don't notice a shift, and that's okay too. We're working, we're flexing that noticing muscle. We're trying to build that muscle up. So some things will be fairly subtle and they'll be harder to tune into, especially over the loudness of other things, especially if you still have that really active monkey mind telling you that you're not doing it right, or that you should be worried if you're doing it right or wrong, that doesn't look good, you're not flexible enough, blah, 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 the list goes on. Just lower the volume on that. Put up the volume on just being with what is there. Last deep breath. Start to come up to seated. Okay. Bring your feet back into Baddha Konasana. So bottom of your feet together. And then we're gonna bring the bottom of our right foot into the crease of your left elbow, and then wrap your right arm around your outer right leg to the front. This is baby leg cradle, rock from side to side. This feels good and is a really good place to begin learning this pose. Like I said at the very beginning of class, if you remember that this is a difficult pose, and it's weird. It's difficult and weird, compass pose. I think it's Astravakasana in Sanskrit, but that might be another pose, so don't quote me on that. But here we go, just start to make some little circles. I'm gonna take off my socks so you can see this clasp here. I'm sure there's a way to use a strap for this, a yoga strap, but for today, let's just get wherever we can get without the strap. Don't worry about not being able to get into the whole pose. Most people probably will not be able to, especially not the first time you try. This is a balancing exercise. You're gonna keep that leg lifted, and then lift this foot up, right foot up, using your left hand on your heel as high as you can. So it's pretty much in line with your face. Then from there, lean over to the left onto just your left hip. So your right butt cheek is not on the floor. And then move your right knee back behind you, at the side of your waist. Back, behind. And then lift your foot up high again so that you can keep holding onto the heel with your left hand. Take your right arm underneath, and this always reminds me of like a backpack. So I'm gonna try to get my my leg on top of my arm, and then bring my hand to the floor. Once I bring my hand to the floor, this makes me come down a little lower. If you had a block, you can put your hand on the block and stay higher, which will make it easier. So fingertips on the floor. Now my left elbow needs to lift, so I can hold on to the top of my foot. And now, right big toe is gonna move out to the right. So I'm balancing on my left hip. I'm gonna sneak my head underneath and kick. This is compass pose. Try to sit up tall. I'm pulling a little bit with my hand, pushing my head back, pushing my right shoulder back, balancing on my left hip. Maybe I smile, maybe not, because this is really hard. Okay, take a deep breath. Notice the shift. And then begin to bend your knee. Bringing your head out from behind your arm. So a lot of you might be able to do this without your head tucked under. This isn't like the cutest or the funnest, but it's somewhere in there, isn't it? We have to get good at being okay with being somewhere in there. All right, bend your knee, come out of the pose. Just lay your right shin in front of your left, and for a second, close your eyes. Notice how you're feeling, what you're feeling. Even just attempting that pose can cause all kinds of things to come up. And in our bodies too, you might feel like cramps, or you're like, what the heck, this is insane. So just, like I said, yoga's silly, yoga poses are silly. Don't take yourself or them too seriously. Go ahead and open your eyes. Okay. So, left leg. Baby leg cradle. So you're gonna try to get your left ankle in, or bottom of your foot in the crease of your right elbow. And then hold it up. So we're lifting a little bit, breathing. There's another, I just remembered this other way of holding your leg. It's like the forklift lift. I'm not sure that this is actually easier, but this is a different way of doing it. So if this works for you and this doesn't, you might try that. All right, maybe starting a little bit of movement now. So kind of a circular movement. I'm sort of circling around on my sitting bones, tailbone. Breathing. I'm not worried about where I get on my path to the compass pose. I know that my left side is different from my right. I don't ask the same thing from it anymore. I've learned my lesson. So here we go. We'll see where we get. So remember, most of this is balancing. You're going to be balancing on that right hip, and then it's a huge hamstring stretch. So taking your right hand to your left heel, you're going to lift that foot up really high, right in front of your face. And then go over to the right butt cheek. So your left butt cheek is off the floor, lifting high, high, high. My right elbow's bending out to the side. I'm going to start to bring that left knee back behind me. Just see where it gets. Just try to get it underneath the left arm, back behind me. So both of my elbows are lifted, both elbows bent, right hand on the heel. From here, I'm going to scoop my left arm under and then try to get that leg further back and higher up on my arm. This is all manual. Okay, I'm using my hands. I'm actually using my strength to put myself in this pose, and that's okay as long as you're not having any pain in your hip socket. Okay, and then you're going to push your leg back to keep it in place, fingertips on the floor. Now keep a hold of your foot so it doesn't move, but hold on to the top of your foot. So take your right hand from your heel to the top of your foot, and then left big toe. Let's see if I can wave that toe at you. There it is. It's going to turn out to the left. My hand moves a little bit more to the pinky side edge. You see the difference here, friends? This is so different on this side. Push your left shoulder back into your leg. Keep trying. That's about it for me. I'm going to bend my right elbow, sneak my head under, and push my head back. So again, kind of balancing here on the right hip. Maybe if I balance more, I can get a lot more rotation. I'm turning my thigh out toward the left and balancing. Maybe you can look up. Forward is good. Head not under is good. Elbow knee bent is good. Just see where you get. Last 3 breaths. Notice the shift in you. Notice what it feels like. Can you sit with it? There you go. Nice and slow, come out. Your head untucks first. If you've got that tuck, then bend your elbow and knee. Slowly lower your left shin to the floor in front of your right. Place your hands wherever they're comfortable. Sit up tall and close your eyes. Feel the shift. Take a deep breath. Inhale through your nose, exhale with sound out of your mouth. Open your eyes. Notice the shift. Feels good. I feel good. I hope you feel good. I feel a lot of things, but good is one of them. All right. Where are we at in time? Okay. Hey, we did it, y'all. So go ahead and start to lay on your back. If you're going to want anything for Shavasana to keep you comfortable, you're going to want to grab those things and have them close by. 1 or 2 stretches, and then we're in Shavasana land. I have to turn the heater off in here when I teach online classes because it's so loud. I have the heater in the massage space on, but it doesn't really do that great of a job. And it's snowing outside, so it's a little chilly in here. Okay. Once you lay on your back, your body might immediately ask you to do something. Go ahead and start to do that thing. And then let's all meet in windshield wiper knees. So you're going to bend your knees, put your feet on the floor, and then just moving your knees at your own pace from side to side. Your feet are going to move too, your hips will move. Maybe the movement will go all the way up your spine into your head. Feel your head pull a little bit when your knees drop to the side. Excellent. Okay, come into stillness for a second, and then bring your knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around your legs or hold onto your shins with each hand. And then begin to rock from side to side. Let your head move with you. And just notice the shift. Maybe you can stay with this one. Like you already started to shift knowing that the class is going to be over, especially if you do yoga already, like fairly consistently, or at least you've been practicing for a little while. Your body is so smart. It remembers so much. Your body, your nervous system, your brain. It's all working together all the time. It can work without us, but we actually want to be a part of it. I actually would like to make the decisions, not just have my past habits make decisions for me. Okay, so hold on to your kneecaps and start to make circles. So you're going to bring your knees towards your belly, then out to one side, and then move your knees forward away from your belly, and then back in on the opposite side. Now as you're making this movement, close your eyes and tune into your lower back that is currently getting a little massage. Let's start that in the opposite direction. Slowing down to a stop, take your feet out wide and drop your knees towards each other. So this is the last thing we'll do before Shavasana. In fact, I'm going to have you start your Shavasana in this position. It's called constructive rest position. Unfortunately, I can't remember who coined that term right now, but it's pretty great. Thank you, whoever you are. It was a woman, I know that. Stretch your arms out to the sides with your palms facing up. Take your feet out wide enough that when your knees come together, you don't feel like you're holding your legs at all. If that's not feeling good for you, go ahead and stretch your legs out onto the ground. If you haven't already, maybe you want to close your eyes. Tuck your chin slightly to lengthen the back of your neck. Start to come back to your natural breath, or at least a breath that you don't have to think about. Letting the floor completely support you. Allow yourself to drift wherever you go. Let the thoughts come. Let the thoughts go. Allow yourself to be. you haven't straightened your legs onto the floor, maybe you want to do that now. Bring yourself back. Feel and notice yourself. The outside of yourself. How you're laying. What you can feel underneath you. Around you. You might start to bring some movement back to your body. And then in the next breath or two, coming up to a comfortable seated position where you can sit up tall with your eyes closed, hands resting on your thighs. Feel into this experience right now. The way you've placed yourself, the energy that you can feel and notice inside you and outside you. You might leave your hands where they are or bring them together in front of your heart. In honor of each other in this practice, in honor of the teachers who brought this practice to us, in honor of the native people whose land we practice on. Let's sing the sound of Om. Take a deep inhale. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me, for sharing your practice with me, and for trusting me to guide you. I hope you have a great day. If you have a chance, please hit the subscribe button or a like. A share is even better. Let your friends know about my videos. If you ever have any questions or you want to do a Zoom private lesson or something like that, or you want to come to my classes in Port Orford, you can check out my website, vitalcurrentyoga.com, to book with me, but also to get other stuff from me. All right, I hope you have a great day. Bye.